So when he said that Hitler was, if there's one thing that Hitler was good at, it was order. That's a quote. To do what?
So he organized.
What did he organize them to do?
To do evil. Yes, that's true. But that doesn't make
make Hitler good.
No, it doesn't.
Because Peterson said he was good at it.
Well, that doesn't. Okay. He was good. He was an organizational genius. That's possible. That is what happened. I mean, not everybody could have done what Hitler did, but that doesn't make him right in what he did.
What do you mean? His organization of the Holocaust, for example.
Yeah. But again,
he was a genius at that.
Yes, he was. I mean, the way he did it. Although I don't think if the.
So regarding that interview, so you heard what he said, but Hitler was a genius. It's just a fact, I mean, think of the organizational skills that would go into, whatever, and a lot of serial killers are smart. So these are the views that are espoused by Jordan Peterson. He's trying to communicate with people who have similar views, like that guy. So that guy claimed that those were his own ideas. I have to wonder if they really were, or if he was socially constructed by Jordan Peterson's views. I mean, it's possible, because Peterson is looking for a kind of type, certain types of men who have this kind of primitive thinking, who can't distinguish between right and wrong, basically. Like a genius at murder is not a genius. You're not a genius if you murder millions of people. You're a savage. But this is so in Peterson's cult, this would probably be a majority. These kinds of views would likely be majority views, or at least there would be thousands and thousands of men who would have such primitive Neanderthal thoughts, and this is why Jordan Peterson is such a public menace, because he teaches that savagery is intelligence. It's astonishing. And also, if you'll recall, the guy said that he hadn't heard any Nazi accusations. Well, of course, because the CBC behind me here and other Canadian news outlets, like as I've mentioned, will not report this to the public, and this is a major failing. So if the media would get their act together and report all the unbelievable, atrocious things that Peterson has said about National Socialism and serial killers, including Paul Bernardo, who he praised over 20 times in under 2 minutes during a lecture, exactly 20 times by my count, in 1 minute and 56 seconds to be precise, during a lecture in his an undergraduate class at the University of Toronto. If this were reported, then people would know about it. But I think that the media fears a backlash from not necessarily the guy who I was speaking to. I didn't get the sense that he was a violent type, but people, sort of variations on him, like people who have similar thoughts but are also like aggressive and maybe have been done wrong in their life and want to take a bit of revenge, like, because a lot of his fans are just goons. That guy wasn't a goon, but his thoughts were, his ideas were, I would say, seriously disturbed, really, really wrong, just confused. Maybe he'll grow out of such things and look back and think that his ideas were foolish or something like that. But I mean, when I was that age, I never had such stupid ideas. I had other stupid ideas when I was younger, but not about something like that. So anyway, but today was uneventful. No one came out to claim that I was dangerous to the entire the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, or try to chase me away from a bench or anything like that. So that's I suppose that's progress of a kind. I was thinking that I'd been a little bit too hard on the CBC, and I don't really think that I am, but I should give credit where credit is due and point out that they have done 2 pieces on Jordan Peterson that were really good. One was an interview with Wendy Mesley. So Peterson was invited into the CBC, and Wendy Mesley interviewed him and showed him a picture of himself, along with two alt-right types. One guy was wearing a Make Canada Great Again hat and was giving the White Power hand sign, and they were holding a banner of Pepe the Frog, and Peterson was standing behind the banner, and the three of them are beaming, and the guy's got the alt-right, the White Power symbol on the go. And she asked him, and Pepe the Frog is a neo-Nazi symbol. Now, it's not always a neo-Nazi symbol, and originally it wasn't meant as a neo-Nazi symbol, but it was corrupted by the alt-right and turned into a neo-Nazi symbol. And of course, this is something they deny. What are you talking about? It's just a frog, and that's all part of the joke, because any symbol can be appropriated and misused. Look at the letter Z now that Putin is using for his invasion of campaign. Would you argue it's just the letter Z? I mean, all symbols have assigned and understood meanings, so that was good. And basically what they were saying was, what she kept asking was, why are you doing this? Why are you posing with this banner? And you must know that it's a hate symbol. It's been identified as a hate symbol by the Anti-Defamation League. Why are you palling around with these types? What are you doing in this photo? And he just, he didn't know what to do. He put his eyes down. He lied. He claimed that he didn't understand the question, and so on. She caught him, and basically what the CBC was saying to Peterson was that we know who you are. We know you're not really, you claim to be against fascism, but really you're a fascist. That was the implicit message. So that was really well done. No one else has done anything that good in regards to Peterson. So well done. Well done to Wendy Mesley and the CBC for that. However, Wendy Mesley was then, I think, given the axe, because she hasn't returned, for saying the N-word twice on a conference call at the CBC, and one of the members of the conference call was a black guy, and so she was sidelined. We don't really know what happened, but I think she must have been fired, because that was a couple of years ago. She hasn't returned, and her show was immediately cancelled. But before she was sidelined or fired, she also did another good interview with Jordan Peterson's former friend and former mentor, Bernard Schiff. When Jordan Peterson came from Harvard to the University of Toronto in 1998, he was hired by a faculty member named Bernard Schiff in the psychology department at the University of Toronto. And Schiff took Peterson and his family into his home and let them stay there for a few months, I think it was, until their house had renovations completed and they could move into it. They became friends and so on. But Schiff realized that he had made a mistake and wrote a letter or an article rather for the Toronto Star, saying something like, it was called something like, "I used to be Jordan Peterson's biggest supporter, now I think he's dangerous," and in which he argued that he had become, nasty business, and that he was imitating the dictators that he claimed to be warning about. Now, reading between the lines, he was saying that he was imitating Hitler, because the dictator that Peterson speaks most about is Hitler. And just to go back to the previous interview, when Peterson denied that he was, an alt-right type to Wendy Mesley, he said, "I've been teaching about Nazism for decades, or for years, teaching my students about Nazism for years." Yes, he has been teaching about Nazism. He teaches it by praising Hitler, defending Hitler, downplaying Hitler's malevolence and so on, saying things, like you can't blame the war on Hitler. That's just not fair. Referring to Hitler as poor Hitler. Poor Hitler. He couldn't get into art school. I mean, this is showing empathy for Adolf Hitler. There are some criticisms, but they are few and far between, and they're really, really superficial. Mostly it's praise and defense and so on. The Toronto Star ran that article, which was good, and the CBC did the interview with Bernard Schiff, which was good, and I think the interview was called "Is Jordan Peterson Dangerous?" So they have sort of, so reading between the lines, you're supposed to glean that, Peterson is imitating Hitler, but it's such a vague reference. I really don't know if a lot of people would have gotten it, and it was good, but I think that the CBC and Canadian media really needs to inform the Canadian public of details. Like, for example, when in Norway, Jordan Peterson relayed what he called a joke about Jews being gassed to death. Shortly after, downplaying accusations that he was akin to Hitler. I mean, how can he do that and get away with it, relaying what he called a joke about Jews being gassed to death? And then he said that liberals were the real problem, because liberals don't want you to tell such jokes. They don't have a sense of humor, liberals. The real problem is liberals. And the audience applauded and thought this was great and so on. And this is what I'm talking about. It's not a tight-knit organization, but it's a loose affiliation of cavemen, essentially, who have far-right and fascistic views. And this is a massive social scourge. Peterson has an enormous following in Australia and the United States, which leads me to conclude that Australia and the United States must have serious problems with fascism. Whole generation of young fascist men. I suppose it's not really a generation, because I think that his fans are typically between like 20 and say 50 or something like this. But as for the I think as for the younger ones, what will they grow up to be when they grow up to when they get more power in society and more status and so on? It's extremely dangerous. And this rising tide of fascism, for me, this is the story, maybe along with environmental degradation in the Western world. This assault on democracy. I mean, think about it. We just saw recently the attack on the U.S. Capitol, January 6th, and then something similar just happened in Canada. Have you heard the media note both instances together, that in the United States and Canada, fascist movements try to overthrow the government? No, I haven't heard a story like this. They do report it. Like when the siege of Ottawa happened here, all the news networks were on it, and even the conservative media in Canada, thank goodness, like the CTV News, were also completely against what those yahoos were doing. But it is really, really frightening. And then since it happened, do I hear discussion about this in public? No. I think that the media needs to keep such stories alive. Mind you, now they've got their hands full with the story about fascism, Putin invading Ukraine. But this is a sweeping social menace, and Peterson is one of the main peanuts in the packet in this social menace. He is a social menace, hence why I'm trying to out him.